they've got a little, committee, ad hoc committee of theirs, and they'd like to see a member of the Parks and Rec committee actually become a liaison to their group, which is, I think, great connection to the community. Fee structure was made uniform, and they discussed lights in Wilbur Park, specifically around the pedestrian bridge, and I think one other place they're looking at. But all of that will wind up probably being informed by a survey that is almost done, and will be put on SurveyMonkey by March of this year, whatever that word is, SurveyMonkey, by March of this year. And I was watching Inspector Clouseau the other night on TV, so I've got Minky and other things in my head. Anyway, so it was a very informative, very good meeting, very dedicated group of folks, and that is what happened. And Katie will take it next month. Any questions? No, okay. So with that, we have, if I can put you on the spot, Mark, the Community Wellness Committee met?
Yeah, give me a second. So the Community Wellness Committee met yesterday, last night, and really we heard our charge from Mayor Drenick. He kind of outlined some of his thoughts about what this committee should address. We had some great thoughts from both chiefs, and also from Dr. Georgeson about the some of the issues that are facing our community. We talked about homelessness, mental health, addiction, COVID, of course, food insecurity. And what we decided to do is to kind of develop a little bit of a plan for how we were going to begin to kind of address this new committee. And so it was decided by the group that we would kind of first do some legwork on understanding a little bit more of the issues by seeing what data was available. We actually received an email today that gave us some of that data, which was great. I can't wait to look through that. We're also going to then, sorry, trying to look over my notes, which are not as organized as the something I put together and sent to everybody. But then we're going to also try to bring in some of the different community partners that are certainly actively working with some of these different issues and hear from them, and then begin to plot a kind of path forward as what is the role of the city in beginning to try to figure out how to address some of these particular issues. What we settled on is there's kind of two goals that we hope to develop out of this. Is one, this committee will inform the mayor as he's busy kind of advocating for change or money or whatever it might be at both a county and a state level. And then two, what role can the city play in terms of establishing relationships with different organizations where maybe we're able to use some of our grant office to be able to kind of write grants and support of some different actions. And that's kind of where we settled out on. So I think what we developed was a good understanding of what we need to do and a little bit of a direction towards how we're going to do it. And I'm certainly looking forward to meeting next month. Mayor Drenick, if there's something that you wanted me to hit, or certainly feel free to add to it.
No, you guys were great last night, and you certainly hit it there. So I appreciate it. Any questions that anyone has for Mark? No questions for Mark. I promised a quick meeting. City administrators report we'll go to. Oh, I'm sorry. If I can back you off for just a quick second, Greg. Sorry, Carrie, I know you told me this. But Diane, if you could provide us with your report on COVID. Sorry, Greg.
Sorry, Greg. So yes, and we've all been seeing the news, but hopefully I can summarize some of this for you. I will see if I remember how to share my screen. Maybe. Nope. Sorry. Just a sec.
No worries.
Oh, okay. Once I get here. All right, I think I know what I have to do. Go through all the slides again. And then click on share. There we go. Then go back to the beginning. Okay, can people see this now? Nod. Yeah,
Mhm.
okay. So as we all know, globally cases are spiking upward. This was today's latest from the World Health Organization, 290 plus million cases, and deaths, at least for now, are not rising as much. So hopefully that's encouraging. Places where much of this increase is coming from is, of course, here and Europe have all seen marked increases in cases. You can see now South Africa, as predicted, being the start of what we recognize as the Omicron variant. The cases are now less, which is encouraging. Also, we have Argentina and Australia with many more cases. So here in the United States, yesterday, a record increase in number of cases, almost 500,000. Sharp uptick in cases and some trailing increases in hospitalizations. And again, fortunately, not as much of or any increase in deaths thus far. New York State is one of the states that's responsible for a lot of the surge, as you can see here graphically. Again, hospitalizations are increasing in New York State, as are deaths. This is some Otsego County data from the New York State Department of Health website, and you can see the orange, the bright, thick orange line represents the cases per 100,000 7-day average, and you can see how that's ticking back upward. The bottom table, you can see Otsego County in Mohawk Valley with positivity rates now for 7-day average being around 14%. And I put this in so you can see we're sort of right in the middle for our cohort in Mohawk Valley in terms of positivity and percentage of cases, and less than what they're seeing in the metropolitan area. But both New York City and upstate New York are accounting for the increased cases we're seeing in the state. Here today in Otsego County, 137 new cases reported, 482 active cases. I think that's a record both ways. Fortunately, we only have 7 hospitalized. So again, hoping that trend will continue with Omicron. Here again, you see graphically the marked increase in active cases in the county. Today, the Star also reported record increases in Delaware County. This is data from today from the network, and it's not super clear, but I put it up just to show you that we're still about where most surrounding counties are. And this is a little bit different than the Mohawk Valley cohort. It's really those counties contributing to the Bassett Healthcare Network system. And the graphic down below, the bar graph in the center, shows the inpatients that network-wide have been averaging more like 25 to 30, which is an increase from previously. And interestingly, in the last week or so, I'm not sure if this will be a trend, you see fewer hospitalizations at actually Bassett Medical Center. And you can see A.O. Fox is the second one up, the sort of orangish one. We're pretty stable, but some of the other hospitals in the network seem to be contributing more to the inpatient care in the network. Wastewater continues to trend upward. Our most recent data point is the 29th of December. And here you see, this was updated today from the CDC, that their forecasting is that Omicron nationwide is now by far the dominant variant, representing 95.4%. And in our region, region 2, that number is 98%. So again, what we feel is that Omicron is driving this surge. And this was the same slide as I showed 2 weeks ago. What do we know about Omicron? Preliminary evidence, and now more and more evidence is confirming that it is more highly transmissible than the Delta variant and is seemingly transmissible more rapidly than the Delta. In terms of severity of illness, more data has come in that suggests and supports the notion that it likely is causing less severe illness compared with previous variants. This week in the media, there was some animal studies quoted that showed less involvement in the lungs. So that's one theory, perhaps. People are getting and transmitting the virus, but not getting as ill in terms of pneumonia. There also have been some studies out of the UK, which again saw the surge before we did, showing that, let me just read this because this just came across my feed. The risk of adults being admitted to hospital with Omicron was approximately 1/3 of that for the Delta variant, the UK Health Security Agency said in a technical briefing. The analysis also found that the risk of presentation to emergency care or admission with Omicron was approximately half of that for Delta. So maybe some encouraging news that this surge will result in fewer hospitalizations here in the US and in New York State and locally. I think it's still a little too early to tell that. Again, what we know is that vaccines, especially boosters, are effective against Omicron. This is just some more of the vaccination data showing that, and I've shown this graph before, this just extends the timeline, that the blue line representing unvaccinated and the red line representing vaccinated. The numbers are increasing, but substantially more so for the unvaccinated. This is New York State data. And again, hospital admissions trending upward for both, but less so for the vaccinated, and the top line, the black line, showing that the vaccine effectiveness is declining, but still showing significant protection. This is another graphic representation of that from the New York Times today, showing that, and this is nationwide, that unvaccinated are about 5 times as likely as fully vaccinated people to test positive for COVID, and about 13 times as likely to die from COVID as those who are vaccinated. Now, bear in mind, this is different. On October 5th, I presented numbers to you that unvaccinated were 8 times as likely to become infected and 57 times as likely to die. So again, what is that telling us is that perhaps the vaccine effectiveness is waning with time, as well as perhaps more specifically less effective against Omicron variant. Here's another graphic from the Times today that shows, again, from a more of an epidemiologic view, that states with lower vaccination rates have higher death rates. And then just a quick update on vaccines. This came out today. Well, yesterday, the FDA recommended to authorize boosters for 12 to 15-year-olds. The CDC is still looking at that. They have not weighed in on that yet. But what the CDC did weigh in on is that the interval for getting a booster, if you had a Pfizer vaccine, is shortened from 6 to 5 months. And also that children who are moderately or severely immunocompromised, children between 5 and 11, should get an additional dose of the Pfizer vaccine. Yes, okay, so another recommendation that, wonder what happened here. All right, let me go back to my, here we go. Another that came out this week that I think has been confusing for some folks is the new guidance about isolation and quarantine from the CDC. Primarily that of isolation shortening from 10 to 5 days, which is a significant change. And I think, again, that has caused some confusion. I think that this is based on awareness from studies of contact tracing, that people are unlikely, people who test positive are unlikely to be infectious past 5 days. So shortening the isolation from 10 to 5 days is what has been recommended if someone is symptomatic, with a recommendation to continue wearing a mask for 5 additional days. There was some discussion from the CDC, from actually Dr. Fauci earlier in the week, about having a testing requirement that goes along with that. But just today, the CDC said they would not have a testing requirement. And from what I've heard, and I've heard 2 different epidemiologists this week address this very issue, is that many people who test positive will continue with a sensitive PCR test to test positive past the point of when they are truly infectious. That is simply because we know that fragments, protein fragments that are being picked up on the PCR tests are present for oftentimes weeks after an infection, but they are not infectious. So, and then the other issue is, can quarantine be adjusted if someone is boosted? And here it's a little bit different and new, in that they're considering people who are boosted or within 6 months of a primary series have less requirements for quarantine than those who are not. I would just say that as of now, the local health department and the New York State Department of Health has not fully adopted these guidelines, but I just put them there to know what's probably, to show you what's probably coming. What New York State did do last week was put out an advisory so that essential workers could shorten their isolation period. But this guidance does include some very specific guidance for people coming back to work in, again, essential settings, that they need to continue to wear at least a KN95 mask and continue to wear masks at all times, even outside of the workplace. So again, it is felt that a lot of these changes, while they do reflect the science behind understanding how long people are infectious, have been put in place as an effort to maintain essential workers. So today in the Oneonta Star, we learned that students returning to SUNY will be required to be boosted, as are Hartwick students, and also that there will be a testing requirement prior to them returning to campus. And Hartwick has also mandated this. Also, in terms of testing, we know that access to testing has been somewhat of a limiting factor, and that's actually why the county has not been able to shorten quarantine with the testing out options. So beginning last Wednesday, the site in Milford opened, the state-run site. I heard from Heidi today that there were about 250 tests done there that first day, last Wednesday. The results, however, are taking somewhat longer than anticipated to come in that even not all the tests from last Wednesday have been received and processed yet. Her sense is that it's about 50-50 in terms of vaccinated and unvaccinated, although she did not specify whether or not they were boosted. But that does provide a good option for people. And then again, we all know that with Greg's work on behalf of the city, as well as the county health department and the college, that a new site will be opening for the community this Friday on the SUNY campus. And we should be hearing more about that. Those tests will be going to the Quadrant Lab, which are the saliva-based PCR tests that they've been doing on campus throughout the pandemic. The tests from the Milford site go to are also PCR tests that go to a bioreference lab. So that's the update on testing. I would just like to emphasize that, again, looking forward, we're in the midst of this Omicron surge. Most experts are predicting the surge, given its rapidity of spread, will likely begin to see a decline later this month, hopefully. And again, hopefully we will see less severe illness and hospitalizations with Omicron. And people have even been talking about whether or not we need to begin looking more at hospitalization rates than cases, simply because there's so many cases with Omicron. So I think this is all rapidly evolving. What I tell you tonight may not be true tomorrow. So, but the most important tool we have is still vaccinations. As I tried to show you, they are still quite effective at preventing hospitalization, severe illness, and death. And boosters are also a piece of that. So we encourage vaccination for children and everyone that are eligible. And finally, while we're in this time of high transmission, all the other things we've been doing all along to mitigate spread are still important, including wearing masks. So I will end there and stop sharing and take any questions. Do I call on people or do you, Mark?
I have a new computer. I just had to find the.
That's okay.
All right, I'm sorry. So Dave Risberger.
I wasn't the first one, but
Well,
I'll take it.
first I saw.
Sorry, Katie and Luke. Diana, I've got a couple quick questions. One is, I've heard the term fully vaccinated thrown around quite a bit lately. What are we defining as fully vaccinated? Is that with a booster?
That's a really good question. Up until very recently, it has been completing, a series of 2 of the mRNAs or 1 of the J&J. But again, since the CDC now has clearly been differentiating between those people who are boosted, I think it depends setting to setting, but hopefully there will be a clearer answer to that question.
Okay.
If that helps.
And the other question I had is referring to the study you were talking about, where I think you said Omicron is leading to only 1/3 of the hospitalizations right now. Did I hear you correctly?
Yeah, that was a study out of Great Britain.
Right. My thought, though, and maybe I'm wrong on this, is that if the transmission is much higher than Delta, and if you look at our numbers right now, which they're higher than they've ever been before, even though is that a 1/3 rate, or is that an actual number? Because our numbers could still be higher. The hospitalization number could actually be higher than they were in the past, correct? Or am I misunderstanding?
Correct. No, and I think that is correct, because what we're seeing a lot of in the news just today, again, is increasing hospitalizations in children.
Yeah.
And again, that I think what this means is that we're just seeing more infections in children, and that the actual percentage of kids being hospitalized like other people may be less with Omicron. But the study I quoted from Great Britain talked about hazard ratios comparing Delta to Omicron. So I think it was really looking at controlling for the increased number of absolute cases with Omicron. Is that what you were asking?
I think so. I just don't want anybody that's watching the video or, well, I also want to make it clear in my own head of, I don't want to be deceived that Omicron is not as bad as Delta, but when our numbers could be significantly higher, just a lower percentage of those numbers put in the hospital from it.
Yeah, I think that's a correct interpretation. We will likely in New York State and maybe even here see hospitalizations continue to rise for a while.
Yeah.
But hopefully that will be a lesser percentage of those positive cases than previously.
Okay.
Katie?
That's all I have.
Yeah, Katie?
Okay, I may have worked it out in my head while you guys were talking and I was listening, but I'm going to ask it anyway, just for the sake of being thorough. So one of the things that I heard you say was that the testing is taking longer to get back to people with their results, even than the potential like 5 or 10 day quarantine time. So how are people who have taken a test, how are they supposed to like parse that out? Like, what do they do?
Well, you're right. And that's one of the problems with, especially with Omicron, since you can become infected more quickly. And by the time your test comes back. So if anyone's symptomatic, they need to quarantine or isolate while they're waiting for their test results.
Mm-hmm.
If someone has simply been exposed and they're under quarantine, as of now, the county is not allowing you to test out of that. So you still have to quarantine for the full 10 days.
Okay.
So I think once we have figured it out and can maybe be able to get tests back more quickly, that will change. Does that answer your question?
I think so. So folks are getting tested, say last Wednesday, and if they haven't gotten their result back yet, they're still, even though it's been, I guess it's only been 6 days at this point, but so they're still required to quarantine for the full 10 days and as long as it takes to get their test back, even if that's days beyond the 10. Is that what you're suggesting?
So again, at the present time.
Sorry, I'm having trouble understanding.
Yeah. So at the present time in Otsego County, people are being advised to quarantine for the full 10 days, regardless of their test results.
Okay, right.
So if they're symptomatic and are testing to see if they may have COVID, they should be self-isolating until the test result comes back negative.
Right.
So, I mean, you're absolutely correct that the whole system would work better if test results came back more quickly in terms of symptomatic people being able to not, and again, this is not someone who's been a close contact and exposed, but someone who's symptomatic. That is when a negative test will allow you to stop self-quarantining. So like for kids who have a cold, who need to be out of school until they test negative, I think that's where that time frame becomes more relevant.
Okay, thank you.
Does that make sense? Do people still have questions about that?
I think because of all the different possibilities of being symptomatic or asymptomatic and the different quarantine times, it can be challenging to figure out where folks fall like on that spectrum. Especially, for example, if someone is asymptomatic but is a close contact, and then because I understand that you can, and I could be wrong, that you can have the Omicron variant and be asymptomatic and still carry it. And so if you're asymptomatic and you quarantine for 5 days or 10 days, which is what our county is recommending, right?
Mhm.
And then you get your test back and you're positive, but you already sort of resumed life, that can be kind of scary. You see your face and I'm curious about what
Yeah,
you're
so
thinking.
I'm just trying to think through. So you're saying someone was a close contact, they got tested, they found out they were positive. And that result could be, well, if they have been self-quarantining since they began their symptoms, even if they test positive after 10 days, they should no longer be infectious.
Okay, that's great. That's sort of what I was hoping to understand, because then you get sort of your positive diagnosis and you're saying, well, what now? So that's what I was hoping would be the case.
Yes.
Hypothetically, and I know that that's one of like a myriad of scenarios, but that was sort of going through my mind when you were saying that it's been taking sort of over a week to get results, and if folks are waiting for those results going, well, what do I do? I wanted to be able to answer that. So thank you.
Luke, I know you had a question. Dave has also got a question. Dave, can you wait a quick second for Luke?
Sure.
Okay, Luke.
Dr. Jorgensen, have you heard anything? I've read about it a couple times, but I can never seem to finish the article. News about the Biden administration potentially sending out at-home kits to every person. Have you heard anything about that or the status of that?
I mean, I heard about it. I mean, it was weeks ago because the plan was to begin doing this in January, but I have not heard about any distribution plan for that. I will keep my eyes open and let you know if I do. But I'm not aware that has happened.
Okay, thank you.
Dave.
Yeah, well, two things. One, for Luke's question, that may have come about or changed to be sending test kits out to school districts, because I know there's some school districts now that are talking about receiving test kits that they're now distributing to students or families at home to be used. But I don't have any details other than that. I do know there's some local school districts that are doing that. And just as a follow-up to what Katie was saying, Katie's questions are very similar to what we all hear from everybody every day, and they get changed, it seems like weekly. And we all have this confusion over, okay, what do you do if you're positive, if you're negative, if you're vaccinated, if you're unvaccinated. And I know through the school district, we've had flow charts that were sent to us that were distributed among staff, and they came from the Department of Health. If there's some way that we could follow up with the Department of Health to see if they have a flow chart that we can then put on the city website, I think that'll be very helpful for people. The only downside is we'll probably have to change it every once in a while.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, and I will talk to the health department about that. But when I asked Heidi today specifically whether she thinks the guidance will change to be more in line with the new CDC recommendations, she wasn't sure. She said probably. So you're absolutely right. Things may change. And again, I think that testing capacity may also drive some of that change, because again, the whole reason why quarantine right now for the county is we don't have that option to test out in 5 days is because of testing availability. But yes, I think that's a great point, and I'll look into that.
David Mercick.
Tied somewhat into that, as I was driving down Center Street today toward Hartwood College, I saw a big blue sign that said COVID-19 testing with a big arrow. heading up the hill that had not been there the day before.
Mhm.
So are we having a testing center opening, and where and when? And do you have any idea how that's going to work?
Yeah, so Friday, a testing site for the community will open on the SUNY campus. Again, that is a combined effort of SUNY, the state, the county, and us. I don't know, Greg, do you want to talk about that a little bit more?
Sure. We were going to have a initial training for the staff members that will be working at this site, which will be at the Public Safety Building on SUNY's campus on Southwest Storm Drive. We plan to issue a press release on Friday, or on Thursday, I'm sorry, following a walkthrough. We've invited some media members to attend. It's a collaboration between the city, the county, SUNY Indiana, and the state to open up this testing center. And really, a lot of credit goes to Quadrant Biosciences, which is the testing lab that's been working with SUNY throughout the last year and a half or more, as well as the city, to do pooled COVID testing, as well as our wastewater testing. They've taken the initiative to set up these testing centers in conjunction with the local partners. So it's really needed, obviously. I'm hoping that the turnaround for the test results will be a little bit quicker than we've seen elsewhere, and it should definitely help the area overall. So again, we'll send out a full press release on Thursday with all the details for everybody.
Good. Any other questions for Dr. Jorgensen? Diane, thank you very much. All right. I want, before we move into the city administrator's report, I want to let you guys know that COVID has had an impact here, obviously, at City Hall. Greg will, I'm sure, speak to that. But I asked Mayor Gary Herzig whether or not he would mind my sharing the fact that he also tested positive for COVID and is symptomatic and is dealing with it. And in fact, he said, yes, people should know it's real. So Gary is, when I spoke to him a little bit earlier via email, he said he hoped that tomorrow was the corner that he was going to turn. So our best wishes for recovery to Mayor Herzig and to all the city staff and their families as well who've been impacted by this. And with that, if we could have Greg speak to the city administrator's report.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. As the mayor referred to, we have had some cases, positive cases, and some exposures in city staff, as to be expected with surge happening in the community, and we're obviously dealing with that accordingly. One of those measures we've taken is to move these meetings, such as the council meeting and all their boards and commissions and committees, to Zoom. As of right now, we're going through January 15th. I don't believe that there's been an announcement yet. Carrie, jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, that the allowance for conducting such public meetings remotely has not been extended yet. I think it expires on the 15th. I would imagine it would be extended. Thanks. If things continue the way they are. So we'll certainly update everyone as we get closer to that date if we'll continue to recommend having remote meetings. Staff are also have been asked to mask up inside buildings at all times unless they're alone in an enclosed area in their own office space. And obviously the public has been asked to wear masks regardless of vaccination status. Clearly, transmission doesn't really care about vaccination status at this point. Obviously, everyone heard about the robbery that occurred at MBT Bank in Indiana last week. OPD continues its investigation of that in conjunction with state police and other parties. We've sent several press releases out to the public, soliciting input from anyone who may have information. So OPD is following up on that, reviewing evidence. It's still an active case, and if anyone has any information that they would like to add, they're encouraged to contact the Police Department Detectives Division just by calling the Police Department business line 607-432-1111. Our current job openings, we still are recruiting to fill the newly established community development position. Public Works has a spot open on its water and sewer crew we're interviewing for. We have a recently vacated spot in engineering GIS technician. And in OPT, we're continuing to recruit for bus drivers. Staff are working to prepare several RFQs and RFPs. That's requests for qualifications or requests for proposals. The three we're working on right now are an RFQ for the Market Street Transportation Improvements Project, which we're calling it that. That's really several projects from the DRI improvements lumped into one: the parking garage improvements, the transit hub construction, streetscape improvements, and the pedestrian connections between Market and Main. That'll be soliciting an architect engineer to do detailed design and eventually lead into construction administration for that project. So that'll be going out in the next couple of weeks. Also, we'll be issuing an RFP for downtown events and promotions to seek proposals for the services that Destination Oleana is currently providing the city. And the third is the RFP for the Armory Building Conditions and Needs Assessment. That's related to the CDBG grant that the city received last year to do that conditions and needs assessment. And the last thing I had to share was just that, as you may have received in a Nixville update, DPW repaired a water main break today on River Street. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Oh, Mark, you're muted.
Sorry. John, were you asking a question or just fixing your? No.
Fixing.
Alrighty. If there are no further questions or no questions at all for Greg, then we'll move on to the mayor's report. We're going to call this the mayor's remarks moving forward, because I don't know how much a report is going to be. So here's the deal. I have got a really big and complicated agenda, and most of you guys know that already, right? I've had individual conversations with folks. So I'm going to be taking that agenda in small pieces that are short and considered, and I put some virtual pen to paper, I guess. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually read you, something written weekly, and then I'll make that available to the council after the meeting. Kerry will. Thank you, Kerry. And then I'll also invite our friends in the media that if you're interested in what it was that I talked about, you can get that from Kerry as well, so that we're all kind of on the same page. It's a lot to try to get with, and so I won't bore you with more than a couple of minutes. This preamble was probably longer than what I'm going to read you now. Okay? Sound good? Good, good. All right. So, to wit, to keep the city safe, to ensure its quality of life, to smartly grow our business sector, our population, our housing, and our infrastructure, to energize our downtown and our relationship with the colleges, and to lead with clear and consistent vision for the future. So these are my goals, but the way I look at it, these are also my responsibilities. I take this very seriously and with some confidence, because I know you guys all have my back. I do. My 2 years on council is a real asset to me. 6 new council members had just over 2 months before COVID turned everything upside down and put our lives on Zoom. We are again. And I think we work together more intensely with the Zoom, more intimately than councils before us. So we get to know each other, respect each other. We're a good team. And we can get things done. Adding Emily Falco makes us even better. Now, this is going to be a well-informed council. Okay? I'll be looping you in individually and collectively. I'll be working with our city administrator to set up timelines and benchmarks for different city plans and performances, all of which I will share with council. I plan on empowering the council. It's my belief that this will strengthen the city government. I also plan on empowering the community. but we'll talk more about that next week, 2 weeks from now. I'm grateful to have the chance to work alongside so many quality people, many of them just with their names up on the screen at the moment, and others. They share this admirable work ethic and this commitment to the city that, you know, has me convinced that Oneonta is lucky. We're really blessed with really good employees. And I will be their advocate. I will have their backs and I will listen to their voices. If we can make our city better, I will always take the advice and listen to the opinions of people who know more about their job. They know their job better than I ever will. The same goes for the community. I will be engaging them like they've never been before. We're going to solve lots of problems together, new voices, new ideas. I am ready to get down to work, and I am so grateful that this is the team I'll be working with. We got big things coming. And that's all I've got. So with that, unless there's a question or a comment about that, I'm going to move on to the agenda. Sound good? Good. Okay. So this is the consent agenda. And we have, Dave Risberger, what'd you say? This is like hazing. I've got like 8 pages. So we have, so we have, starting with motion number 1, that the Common Council approves the minutes of the regular meeting held December 21st, 2021. Approval of warrants. Motion number 2, that the Common Council approves the warrants totaling $376,240.95, and that the same be placed on the Director of Finance's desk for payment as presented. General items in the consent agenda start with motion number 3, that the Common Council designates the Daily Star as the official newspaper for all publications of all such matters as the Common Council may direct in compliance with Section C39 of the City Charter. 4, that the Common Council will continue to follow the principal rules governing motions for meetings of the Common Council for the year 2022. Number 5, motion that the Common Council concurs with the mayor's appointment of Council Member Dave Risberger as acting mayor for 2022. Motion number 6, that the Common Council authorizes the finance director to borrow funds if necessary during 2022 in anticipation of receipts of revenues that would be derived rather from property taxes and or other income sources. Number 7, motion that the Common Council designates the Bank of Cooperstown, Community Bank, Key Bank, NBT Bank, and NICLAS as depositories for all or part of city funds during 2022. Motion number 8, that the Common Council concurs with the mayor's recommendation and approves the following paid appointments. Judy Sweet as bingo inspector, expiring January 14th, 2023. Mark Simonson as city historian, expiration January 14th, 2023. Lisa Lauritsen, deputy purchasing agent, December 31, 22. Carrie Ann Harrington, registrar of vital statistics, December 31st, 2025. Bonnie Cozo, deputy register of vital services, December 31st, 2025. Diane Jorgensen, Dr. Diane Jorgensen, health officer, January 14th, 2023. David Mertzig, city attorney, January 14th, 2023. Number 9, motion that the Common Council concurs with the mayor's recommendations and approves the following appointments to city boards and or commissions. To the Zoning and Housing Board of Appeals, Jared Goss, expiration of January 14th, 2023, and Fred Plautz, January 14th, 2025. To the Civil Service Commission, Keith Bott, with an expiration date of May 31st, 2026. And to the Environmental Board, Kevin Schultz, January 14th, 2025 expiration. And finally, on the consent agenda, motion that the Common Council approves the local law to amend sections C14 and C17 through 19 of the Charter of the City of Oneonta as it pertains to residency requirements for city boards and commissions. This item was laid electronically on December 23rd, 2021, which wraps up the consent agenda. And with that, I'll look for a motion to approve.
We allow the polling first, or
Oh, I'm sorry. Say it again.
can we poll some first, or do you want to?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, of course. They all look so good to me. Scott. Go ahead.
I would like to poll 8 and 10, please.
All right. And Katie?
4, please.
Anybody else want to pull anything else? Okay. All right. With that, thank you very much for alerting me to that, because I would have been someplace else eventually. So with that, we will look at the approval of all motions -4 and 8 and 10 in that group. And do I have a motion to approve? And that's Luke, followed by Katie. Thank you very much. And then I guess at this point, Carrie, we'll see where we land with it. Go ahead,
Councilmember
Len.
Murphy.
Mayor, I just wondered, should we pull motion number 5 just so that Dave can abstain?
You got it. Okay, so friendly amendment to my own motion for your entertainment, David. So
I actually was going to, Len, you may not want to, because that I thought about this earlier today, and that might be the one time that you don't want to abstain, because what if I didn't agree?
Don't do this to me now, Dave.
I think anybody that does that may want to, since there's no financial gain to it or anything, you may want to have the opportunity to say, no, I don't want that. But that's just my thought. I mean, it doesn't matter.
All that's said. Are we good to, do we want, in fact, Len, to pull number 5? We do. All right, so -4, -5, -8, -10. So that leaves us the rest, whatever that is. And again, I'm going to ask if we have a motion to approve. We've had one already. David, do we need another? Probably not. Good. Okay, so then, Carrie, can we?
Did we get a second?
Yes.
Yeah, we did. That was
okay.
Katie. Yeah, thank you. And with that, this long delayed vote, Carrie, do you want to call the roll?
Councilmember Murphy.
Aye.
Councilmember Davies.
Yes.
Councilmember Risberger.
Yes, sorry.
That's okay. Councilmember Lepari-Shu.
Aye.
Councilmember Carson.
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington.
Yes.
Councilmember Rafter.
Yes.
Passes.
Okay. All right. So now we will go to motion number 4. This is having to do with the principal rules governing motions. And who pulled that? Katie?
Motion to approve?
So
Yeah.
moved.
Thank you very much. Hey, first day on the job, guys. Motion to approve. Thank you very much. Appreciate you bailing me out. So Scott, all right, do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you very much, Katie. All right, so now with that, I'll get it by probably sometime in March. We'll be okay. So with that, Katie, you pulled that motion?
Discussion, yeah.
Discussion.
I
Thank you.
did. Yeah. I know that over the last year, we've had some discussions in council in meetings about what our rules governing our meetings are. And I thought that this might be a good opportunity for us to really take a look at and define, ask our city attorney to define for us what specifically we are adopting in terms of rules to follow, so that we all can start 2022 on the same page. Because I know that
How
there was
much
some talk.
time do you have?
Oh, let it rip.
What we had what we have historically used in the city is not Robert's rules, but a variation of Robert's rules for smaller entities called the Standard Code of Parliamentary Procedure by Alice Sturgis. I think we'd gotten several copies of that. If you'll look, there was an attachment in your packet today that has a layout of all of the rules of procedure. There was, again, it's part of your packet. It lays out the motions, purposes of motions, how to achieve your goals, how a bill becomes a law, that sort of stuff. And this is a, for lack of a better term, a cheat sheet that was attached to your paperwork. If you have specific questions about that, you can do that. Again, committees tend to be different than council meetings because committees are usually less formal. I don't know if you're asking a particular question, Katie.
Nope. I just took another look at that sheet, and I think that that's pretty comprehensive. I just wanted to make sure that there weren't any questions. Like I said, I know it's something that had been called into question several times last year, so I thought now would be a good time to talk about it before we move to abide by them.
Yeah.
Dave.
Sorry, I'm having trouble. Every time I try to hit unmute, there's the window on my screen is popping up, blocking it. This is a question for Mr. Merzig. Why don't we use full Robert's rules in Oneonta? I mean, other than the traditional, that we've always used it this way. How come Oneonta has never adopted the full rules when I know Cooperstown uses the full rules?
They may say they do not. Robert's rules is adopted for Congress and for entities of greater than 300. It's very, very unwieldy. If I can get you a copy of Robert's rules, and it has committees, subcommittees, subcommittees. It has rules about points of personal, not points of personal order. What is it? Anyway, it's aimed at much larger organizations.
So it would be more rules than we would ever use. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, way more.
Okay.
But I can get you a copy. Or you can just go online. Part of the problem is that just like Webster's dictionary, there is no real Robert's rules that went out of copy a long time ago. So there are 100 different variations of it. There's the one that's used by Congress, which is called Robert's Rules. But this in essence is what Robert's Rules is. It's just pared down so that you don't have, that you don't have things, again, aimed at intended for groups of like 300 or 400 when they're all people walking in and out of it has voice votes and the chair can can call for votes by acclamation, and the ayes have it, and the noes have it, things like that. So it's just very, very unwieldy.
Okay, I'm gonna have to reach out to Cooperstown again because I was told by them that by somebody on that board that they used full rules, but obviously they must
ask them,
find out what version they use.
Yeah, that's the way to do it, and say so, because people throw it around saying, "Oh well, of course we operate by Robert's rules." And you say, "Okay, what Robert's rules are you talking about? Show me what it is that you're using." And they say, "Well, it's just what we've got one here."
Okay.
So,
okay.
And again, we can get, if you want to look at the Sturgis rules there. Like I said, I thought we had gotten several copies of these available. You can go online and buy them for like $5 if you go on Amazon. But this is one that's used by most small organizations, and by small I mean less than 100 or 200 members. I hope that's helpful.
Yes.
Any further discussion on this topic? Len?
There's an email dated August 18th, 2021 from David. It was sent to Carrie, and then she sent it on to the mayor and the council regarding this. and within it, there's a PDF to what David was just holding up, as I believe all the flow charts that he's referencing.
What was the date on that, Len, again?
August 18th.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
The one last thing that I can mention is the charter says that the Common Council can adopt its own rules. You can, if you decide after long debate that you want to change this to some other order or some other mechanism, that's within your power to do it as long as there's a majority vote of the council. So this is not like my procedures or anything like that.
Have we heard from everybody who's got a question or a comment on this? Looks like we have. All right. So with that, my next step is, do I have a motion to accept? Am I right, or have I just taken it? I thought not.
You already have a motion and a second.
All right. So at this point, we're ready for a vote. Again, March, we're going to be so good at this. All right. So if we could then call the roll.
Councilmember Murphy,
Aye.
Councilmember Davies,
Yes.
Councilmember Risberger,
Yes.
Councilmember Lepari Shu,
Aye.
Councilmember Carson,
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington,
Sorry, yes.
Councilmember Rafter.
Yes.
Passes.
All right. So our next motion that was pulled for discussion, the Common Council concurs with the mayor's appointment of Councilmember Dave Risberger as acting mayor for 2022. And we've got discussion on that, I presume. And that's Len.
We got to make a motion first.
Do we really? All right, there you go. Thank you, Len.
I'll second it.
Motion to approve. Thank you. And now with that discussion.
Well, I pull this so that Dave can either abstain himself or deny it, or however he feels.
Well, in the past, I guess I was a glutton for punishment, and I always voted yes. So, but seriously, I actually thought about this, Len, too, because I was going to abstain, and I thought, wait a second, I think anybody that's going to come up for this vote probably wants to have the opportunity to either say no or to show that, yes, they're willing to do this. So I am going to vote on this, and I'll vote yes, because I'm willing to do this again for another year for Mark.
I appreciate that, by the way. All right. Any other discussion on this? And can I just poke in here real quick and just say how much I appreciate your stepping up. We are all cognizant, some of us more than others, of where we are on life's timeline. So it's nice to know that there's somebody who can step in the event that something breaks down, because things are starting to break down. So
Don't break down, Mark.
No, I'm not breaking down in any serious way, but getting older. So so thank you very much for stepping up. And with that, if we can call the roll for the vote.
Councilmember Murphy. I cut you off. I'm sorry, Luke.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Davies,
Yes.
Councilmember Risberger,
Yes.
Councilmember Lepari Shu,
Aye.
Councilmember Carson,
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Rafter.
Yes.
Pass.
Very good. So that passes unanimously. And thank you again, Dave. The next that was pulled was number 8, and that had to do with my recommendations for various paid appointments. And so do I have a motion to go ahead, Len, and then Dave? Thank you very much. And discussion on this. And who pulled this?
I pulled that, Mayor.
Want to lead off?
The reason why I pulled it was I think I might be in a conflict with this. I have no idea if this is monetary in any way, shape, or form with Carrie's name being on there. So I have to abstain for obviously reasons.
They are paid appointments.
Okay.
All right. Anybody else have any other issue around this that they feel needs warrants discussion? No. With that, then, Carrie, if we could please call the roll.
Councilmember Murphy,
Aye.
Councilmember Davies,
Yes.
Councilmember Risberger,
Yes.
Councilmember Lepari Shu,
Aye.
Councilmember Carson,
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington,
Abstain.
Councilmember Rafter.
Yes.
Passes.
Okay, very good. Moving on to the last of the motions that was pulled, number 10, and that has to do with approving the local law to amend section C14, C17, 19 of the charter relative to residency, and who will know it that way. So you've got a motion to approve, and I've got Katie, yes, and then we have a second is Mark. Thank you very much. And at this point, then discussion, and who pulled this?
I pulled this one too.
Okay, Scott.
I just had a couple of quick questions. I didn't have time to ask him of our attorney, so I apologize. I just wanted to know, is this considered a major change to the charter that has to be voted on by the public?
David, I think you were name checked there.
Sorry about that. I missed the question.
I was just wondering, is this considered a major change to the charter that, because we're taking off a requirement that the public has to vote on?
No, this is not. This is a one topic issue. And as a result, it can be done simply by a local law. It is not subject to referendum.
Okay. And then the only other question I have, this is just for our boards and commissions, correct? That's not like any department heads or anything like that. We're just strictly doing boards and commissions with this change.
Correct.
Okay, that's all I had. Those two questions for clarification.
No, sorry about that.
All righty. Further discussion? Anyone? Okay, well, if there's no further discussion, then if Carrie, you would call the roll.
Councilmember Murphy.
Aye.
Councilmember Davies,
Yes.
Councilmember Risberger,
Yes.
Councilmember Lepari Shu,
Aye.
Councilmember Carson,
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Rafter.
Yes.
Passes.
Very good. Okay, well, that takes care of the consent agenda, and we'll move into discussion. And we start with the Finance and Human Resource Committee's motion that the Common Council approves the following resolution: the Community Development Block Grant Housing Conditions Survey Type 2 Seeker Determination, whereas the City of Oneonta has been awarded a Community Development Block Grant by the New York State Office of Community Renewal for a community planning grant to conduct a housing condition survey, whereas the Community Development Block Grant Program requires a seeker determination as part of the environmental review process. Therefore, be it resolved that the City of Oneonta hereby determines that the Housing Condition Survey is a Type 2 action as defined by New York State Statute, Section 617.5C24, and be it further resolved that pursuant to Section 617.5C24, this activity involves information collecting, including basic data collection and research that do not commit the agency to undertake, fund, or approve any type 1 or unlisted action, close quote on that. And be it further resolved that the City of Oneonta is not required to conduct any further environmental review as a result of this type 2 determination. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall take effect immediately. And that concludes that motion. And do we have a motion to approve? Accept, there you go. We have Dave followed by Mark is the way I read that. And discussion? John? Or you just lit up? All right. No discussion on this whatsoever. All right. In that case, if Carrie, you would call the roll.
Councilmember Murphy.
Aye.
Councilmember Davies,
Yes.
Councilmember Risberger,
Aye.
Councilmember Lepari Shu, You're muted, council member.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Carson,
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Rafter.
Yes.
Pass.
Okay, motion passes. Moving to number 12 on the agenda, motion that the Common Council authorizes the mayor to execute change order number 8 to the wastewater treatment plant upgrade electrical construction contract of 2019 E003 for the provision of digester remote IO panel support, chlorine building electric panel replacement, light fixture installation in the garage/screening room, installation of upgraded site lighting, and installation of new conduit and conductor to the bypass manhole flow measuring device at the cost equal to $29,956.17, bringing the total change orders to $200,529 and resulting in a revised contract price of $1,597,259 contingent upon EFC approval, and to authorize any necessary budget transfers from the project's contingency budget. Do I have a motion to approve or accept? Which is it? Is it approve or accept, by the way? No one knows? Okay. David, you know. You're muted, but I'm going to go with approve. All right. So with that, it is approved. Very good. Thank you. And so I'm going to ask for those hands again. Sorry. So there we go. Len and Mark, thank you very much, guys. And now any discussion on this, Len?
Thank you, Mayor. My question would go towards Greg, I'm assuming. So Greg, this is a total change order of over $200,000 on a, what would have been a, what, $1.4 million job, is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, the original contract amount was 1.397. So yeah.
So refresh my memory, what is your percentage for overage?
The reason this comes to council in this case, because the total changes on this particular contract, the electrical contract specifically, is above 10% of the total original contract amount. That requires council approval. The other instances that require council approval on change orders are if they're, even if they're less than 10% of the total contract amount, if they bring the contract above the total project budget. That's not the case here. In this case, it's just being over 10% of the contract. That's why this needs to go to council as opposed to being approved at a lower level.
Right. So, but I mean, you normally in this bid for 1.4, you would have had 140,000 for contingency, but we're 60,000 over that. And so these funds will be pulled from which line item to cover?
Well, we're not over our contingency. We have in this project, it's a large capital project. We have a separate line item for contingency, and we're not above that. We're pulling from that line item. So we have not exceeded the overall project budget for the wastewater upgrade.
I'm sorry, I guess I misunderstood. You said the project was basically 1.4 and that you had a 10% overage.
The project contract, the electrical contract was 1.4. The change orders are to increase that contract now, a total of $200,000 roughly. So yes, we've increased the contract amount, but the overall project budget, we're still within that. Okay. There's a separate contingency outside of the contract that we pull from to add to this contract.
How much space do we have left in the overall project contingency then?
We don't have any more change orders coming down the line. I can't say for certain off the top of my head how much is left. There's not a whole lot. We've used just about all of it, but we don't anticipate going above that.
What's the project completion date?
Essentially now, I believe the completion date was December 31st, the substantial completion date, December 31st, 2021. So at this point, they're just in punch list mode and finishing up like items like these.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion on this? No further discussion. All right, with that then, Carrie, if we could call the roll.
Councilmember Murphy,
Aye.
Councilmember Davies,
Yes. I guess y'all didn't hear me. Yes, sorry.
Nope, I heard you. Councilmember Risberger,
Yes.
Councilmember Lepari Shu,
Aye.
Councilmember Carson,
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Rafter.
Yes.
Passes.
Okay, and that passes. And we move on to number 13, motion that the Common Council authorizes a 2021 budget transfer from Police Personal Services Code A31201 to the Police Overtime Personal Services Code A3120.12 in the amount of $30,000. Do I have a motion to go ahead, Glenn, and do we have a second? Is Scott? Okay, and then discussion on this? Scott, are you just lit up? Go ahead, Katie, was that you? You're adjusting. Okay, do we have any discussion on this at all? No. All right, in that case, Carrie, if you call the roll.
Councilmember Murphy,
Aye.
Councilmember Davies,
Yes.
Councilmember Risberger,
Yes.
Councilmember Lepari Shu,
Aye.
Councilmember Carson,
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Rafter.
Yes.
Passes.
Very good. Number 14, motion that the Common Council authorizes the Director of Finance to accept a gift in the amount of $5,000 from an anonymous donor to be restricted for the Mayor's Cup soccer tournament and to authorize any budget amendments for said acceptance. I have a motion to approve that. I've got Dave, I've got Katie, I've got everybody pretty much. And with that, do we have discussion? No discussion? And so, Carrie, if you call the roll.
Councilmember Lepari Shu had her hand up.
Oh, I'm so sorry,
I
Katie.
did. No, it's okay. I thought of it at the very last second. So my question is, if we accept this gift, I mean, who wouldn't? But so when we accept this gift, I think that the budget for the Mayor's Cup, if I recall correctly, was around $10,000. Does that represent then a $5,000 savings, or will the budget for that event get increased?
Jenny, if you wouldn't mind, please answer. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, Katie, the budget for the Mayor's Cup right now is at $10,000. And if indeed they need more funds when the Mayor's Cup event happens in 2022, we will have those funds to apply towards it. As you know, we do have a reserve for the Mayor's Cup that has accumulated over the years. If they do not use this extra $5,000, that $5,000 will then go into the reserve and be applied to future events.
I understand. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. With that, thank you, Jenny. If there's any further discussion, it doesn't appear that there is. So, Carrie, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Murphy.
Aye.
Councilmember Davies,
Yes.
Councilmember Risberger,
Yes.
Councilmember Lepari Shu,
Aye.
Councilmember Carson,
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington,
Yes.
Okay, that passes. And that takes us to motion number 15.
Not yet, Mayor, I don't think.
I'm sorry.
I need a vote from Councilmember Rafter.
Oh, I'm
Yes.
so sorry,
Thank you.
but I heard him. In my
Passes.
mind, I heard you. So with that, it passes, and we look at motion number 15, that the Common Council authorizes the Director of Finance to accept a gift in the amount of $55,000 from anonymous donor to be restricted for the purposes of the future purchase of an ambulance for use by the Oneonta Fire Department, and to authorize any necessary budget amendments for said acceptance. And do I have a motion to approve from Katie? I do, followed by Luke. And do I have any discussion on this? Okay, Luke?
Just to whoever this anonymous donor is, Thank you very much. The city very much so needs a new ambulance, and this will go a long way towards helping us get to that goal. So if you're listening out there,
Right. Mark, I think you had your hand up.
Luke expressed my sentiments as well. I think in both cases, it's wonderful when we have people that want to invest in the city, and I'm deeply appreciative of that investment. So thank you.
All right, and I'm going to presume there are 5 other virtual hands up, but we're going to presume as well that you were all going to say the same thing. So thank you from me as well. And with that, I think we can end discussion and move to vote. Carrie?
Councilmember Murphy,
oh, sorry, aye.
Councilmember Davies,
Yes.
Councilmember Risberger,
Yes.
Councilmember Lepari-Shu,
Aye.
Councilmember Carson,
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Rafter.
Yes.
Passes.
Heard you that time, John. And with that, that's passed, and we'll move to general items for discussion. Number 16, a motion that the Common Council approves the following resolution, which makes me very happy. Whereas, because of the resignation of Common Council member Mark Dranick, effective January 1, 2022, there exists a vacancy for the position of council member 8th Ward. And whereas the mayor, pursuant to the provisions of section C23 of the city charter, is given the power and directed therein to appoint a person to fill that vacancy until the next general election, subject to the approval of the Common Council. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the mayor hereby appoints Emily Falco to fill that vacancy during the unfulfilled term of Ward 8 Council member Mark Dranick. And the Common Council concurs with that appointment. This appointment will expire December 31st, 2022. Do we have a motion to approve? Scott and Luke were the first hands that I saw. Do we have discussion? Luke?
Yeah, having had the opportunity to speak with Emily a few times, I look forward to voting yes, and hope everyone else will as well. I think she'll be an asset to council, and look forward to working with her. Well, you're there, Emily. I'm sorry, you're there. So you, looking forward to working with you.
I have been here the whole time, just being shy, but thank you. I'm really looking forward to working with all of you too. If this gets approved.
All right. Now, you know, you're actually in the peanut gallery right now. We'll have to call on you for you to be able to.
Sorry.
You're all good. Mark Davies, yeah, I think you had your hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just a point of clarification. So the last be it resolved section says that the Emily will be filling the vacancy during the unfulfilled term of Councilmember Mark Dranick. But then it says that appointment will expire December 31st, 2022.
It's 1 year.
It's a 1-year appointment?
1 year, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And
The appointment, Mark, the appointment goes until the next general election. So the next general election, this seat for the remainder of the term will be on the ballot in November of 2022. So whoever runs in 2022 and wins will be serving the remainder of Mark's tenure as a council member. It will not be for a 4-year term. It'll only be for the remainder of the term. This appointment only goes until the next general election, and the next general election, whoever's elected will only serve for the remainder of what would have been Mark's term, beginning on January 1, 2023.
Great, thanks for that clarification.
They always stay within the same cycle. You don't pop another one in to stay for another 4 years.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. So there's that, but Emily's going to be great. So is there anybody else that wants to add to this discussion, or should we take it to a vote? Okay, it looks like we'll take it to a vote. So with that, Carrie?
Councilmember Murphy,
Aye.
Councilmember Davies,
Yes.
Councilmember Risberger,
Yes.
Councilmember Lepari-Shu,
Aye.
Councilmember Carson,
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Rafter.
Yes.
Passes. Congratulations.
That's terrific. All right. Hey, congratulations, Emily. And we'll see Emily's next council meeting where we will figure out a way to swear her in. Okay. All right, motion number 17, that the Common Council approves the following resolution. Declaration of lead agency. Whereas the City of Oneonta Code Enforcement Office, with input and guidance from the Legislative Committee, the Planning Commission, and the Common Council, has drafted and proposed amendment to certain provisions of Chapter 300 of the Municipal Code of the City of Oneonta as they pertain to, quote, definitions, unquote, and, quote, zoning districts established, MU1 downtown mixed use district, close quote. And whereas the Common Council, as its October 19, 2021 meeting, approved a resolution declaring its intent to act as lead agency in environmental review for the proposed adoption of the City of Oneonta MU1 zoning code update. And whereas with proper notice having been given, no other interested party indicated its objection or its own intent to act as lead agency, now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to 6 NYCRR Part 617 of the State Environmental Review Act, the City of Oneonta Common Council declares it will be serving as lead agency for the purposes of conducting an environmental review for the proposed adoption of the City of Oneonta MU1 zoning code update. And there we go. Do I have a motion to approve? Very good. That's Mark and Len. And do we have discussion? And I see your lit up, Scott, but I'm not sure if that's an indicator. No, it's not. All right, we have no discussion. Okay, so with that, then, Carrie, if you would call the roll.
Councilmember Murphy,
Aye.
Councilmember Davies,
Yes.
Councilmember Risberger,
Yes.
Councilmember Lepari-Shu,
Aye.
Councilmember Carson,
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Rafter.
Yes.
Passes.
Okay, and that passes. Great, that's really good stuff. All right.
Okay, now I got to jump in here before we can go on to the next resolution, which is the acceptance of the determination of the environmental assessment form.
Yes.
We now have to go through 20 pages of an environmental assessment form. The Common Council, acting in their capacity as lead agency, now has to go through the entire environmental assessment form, part 1.
So is this a case of reading this, David?
No, it's a case of me walking you all through it.
Very good, wonderful. Have at it.
Does everyone have did everyone print out what Katie has now put on the screen? Because if not, you can just follow along.
I didn't print it out.
Okay. I know Stephen is lurking. Stephen, is there anything that you wanted to discuss, either procedure-wise or discussion-wise, prior to us walking through the part 1?
I mean, this is the horrific reality of non-type 2 seeker actions. So have fun.
Thanks.
But in all seriousness, the intent of this process is much more important if we're actually constructing something. Most of this is somewhat, I don't want to say redundant, but limited to the reality of this is it's a zoning ordinance. It's not actually a construction project. So some of this information will be very simply, there will be no environmental impact because we're not actually physically constructing or impacting the environment. The intent of the review is basically to take into account if the zoning code is enacted in its full effect, what are the long-term implications that could result from the actions that zoning code creates? Which in the resolution, I provided a pretty thorough kind of write-up as to how some of those questions might be answered. So it's there for your reference while we're kind of walking through this.
Okay. The other thing that to be aware of is that this proposal has also gone to the Otsego County Planning for their review and suggestions. They have approved it in its current form. We will walk through this as we get to each item where there has to be a determination. You'll see that the form in front of you will have boxes checked. That's the record. That's what we believe. What code enforcement believes to be the appropriate response regarding impact. You are not obliged to follow that if the council disagrees with that. You can vote to put in a different response, but hopefully we will get through this. But it's quite involved and kind of long. So jump in. I'm gonna kind of get on a roll as we start getting into the particular items. If you look in the resolution, you'll see reasons. For example, do we have a page on that? Yeah, on page 5 of your agenda, down at the bottom under number 1, it'll talk about impact on land. Number 2, impact on soil and geology, impact on surface water. Those will be topics discussed in the long form EAF. So when we get there, we can start looking at that. So if you have any questions or comments, you can see where we're going. Once we complete the environmental assessment form, assuming that we complete the environmental assessment form as we believe it should be completed based on our interpretation of what we believe the impact on the environment is going to be, then the resolution will pass. And then the resolution will be read and voted on its entirety. That's the resolution for its motion. What motion is it? I've got it. Motion 18. So we will not get to actually pass motion 18 until we've gone through the full environmental assessment form. And unless there are additional questions, we'll jump in and start walking through it. Under A, project application, applicant and sponsor information, basically says the city of Oneonta itself is making an application to change its zoning code. Under B, government approvals, it needs to be approved by the Common Council. It is also subject to review by Otsego County. That has been done and has been approved. Coastal resources under I, obviously our downtown Oneonta is not within a coastal area, nor is it a local waterfront revitalization plan. Under planning and zoning, C1, will administrative or legislative adoption, a law or ordinance be required? If yes, we do sections C, F, and G. We'll get to those. Adopting land use plans. Do any municipal adopted comprehensive land use plans include the site? Yes. Obviously, our downtown is part of our comprehensive plan. Does the comprehensive plan include specific recommendations for the site? Yes. Is the site of the proposed action within any local, regional, special planning district? The answer is yes. Is a proposed location located wholly or partially within an area listed in adopted municipal open space plan? No. Next page, under C3 zoning, is the site of the proposed action located in a municipality within an adopted zoning law? Yes. Jumping down to C, zoning change requested as part of the proposed action? Yes. What is the proposed new zoning for the site? The action will result in changes to the zoning boundaries within the city of Oneonta. Existing community services, what school district? City of Oneonta. What police force is involved? The Oneonta Police Department, New York State Fire Department, Police Department. Which fire protection emergency? Oneonta Fire Department. What parks? Our parks are all listed there. Project details. We don't have to do the project details because that gets picked up. So if we next page we go to is page 10. Go to potential contamination history. Has there been reported spills in the proposed project site, or have any remedial actions been conducted? Yes, there's been environmental site remediation database. Is the project within 2,000 feet of any environmental site remediation base? Yes, that's obviously down at the Damasky Field. Next is page 11. Under G, are there any unique geologic features on the project site? If yes, Hartwood College campus is marked yes. Stephen, I don't know what that is. Can you tell me what that is?
David, thank you for bringing that up, because that was my question. I didn't understand how Harvard College was included in this downtown.
I don't know.
What'll happen is when you use EAF Mapper, it'll pick up stuff that's like thousands of feet away, but you still have to include it on the assessment. So like you'll get some of these questions that'll flag if it's there's an archaeological site like within, even if it's undisclosed the location, it'll still flag on these. Basically, our answer to those are this will have no impact on that because of distance. I mean, it's literally just the EAF Mapper will fill some of these questions in automatically.
So are they saying like table rocks? Is that what they're talking
yeah,
about?
it's probably like it could be table rock. If they've got any sort of I know like they have an academic building that's on the National Register, so that'll flag on a lot of stuff. So yeah, it could be anything like that.
But Harvard College is obviously not anywhere within the MU1 zone.
Right. Correct. So I mean, like your contamination field isn't either, but it still comes up on the map.
Got it.
Yeah, I mean, like that contamination field in Neowa Park isn't technically in the boundaries of this seeker review, but it still will flag, and you still have to include it.
It's within 2,000 feet or something like that. Okay, going to surface water features. Does any portion of the project contain wetlands or other water bodies? That's marked yes. Is that Neowa Park area? Do you know, Stephen?
Yeah, so there's again, if you go up by the Armory, there's sites that are adjacent to federal wetlands up there. If you go down to Neowa Park, what is that? Not Oneonta Creek, Silver Creek that runs through there has wetlands attached to it. So there are actually wetland sites that are within the boundary of the district.
Okay. The various water features are there. The project site is in a designated floodway. It's also the 100-year flood plan, and the 500-year is the project located near a principal or sole source aquifer. I don't know what aquifers we have. That's a geologic question, obviously, but there is a principal aquifer that we are on top of. Stephen, do you know the answer to that?
Yes, there is.
Does the project site contain a designated significant natural community? No. Project site, any species of plants or animals that's listed under federal New York State endangered threatened species? Bald eagle. Yeah, I suppose. We didn't used to have any bald eagles in Otsego County. We do now. Does the project contain a plant or animal that are listed as rare species? Hellbender? I didn't know that. Designated public resources. There are no agriculture and markets law, no agricultural districts. Does the site contain all or part of a substantial continuous or national registered a natural landmark? No. Is there a state listed critical environmental area? No. Does the project site contain or is it substantially contiguous to a building or archaeological site? Or does it have National Historic Registered places? Yes, we know we have multiple ones. Is the project site or any portion of it located and adjacent to SHPO? The answer is yes. Is the project located in a designated river corridor? The answer is no. Additional information. We certify that the information is true to the best of our knowledge. Applicant sponsor. That's some report. Okay. So are we now doing part 2 or not? We're not doing part 2, Stephen.
Yeah, I mean, the next would be to go through part 2 and go through each item. And again, that's why I provided the part of the resolution so that you would have some like reference to how those questions might be addressed.
Okay, so if you look at the screen, but then also pull out the resolution number 18. And if you look at if you look at the bottom of page 5, is it? Page 5 at the bottom, reasons supporting City of Oneonta Common Council secret determination impact on land. We need to walk through this. And the Common Council will have to vote on this. Question number 1, proposed action may involve construction on or physical alteration of the land surface of the proposed site. And the answer to that is being recommended is yes. You're gonna have to help me here, Stephen.
Okay. Let me get to what we're looking at. Do you have the resolution open?
I do.
Okay.
Where it says impact on land. I mean, the question, the answers to all of the responses are going to be no or small impact. The question is on the primary question, proposed action may involve construction on or physical alteration of the land surface of the proposed site.
I'm trying to open my my packet here. Sorry. So for what I have for impact on land, the answer would be so it wouldn't have a negative or adverse impact on land because the existing structure of downtown Oneonta it's established. So we're not actually like, it's not a greenfield site. It's all previously disturbed. So if you look at the resolution, I provide a little thing on that. So basically, the impact land area, which is impacted by the proposed zoning change, has been previously disturbed. The proposed zoning update requires future development to be mixed use, as well as multi-storied, which is higher and better use of land than permitted in the current zoning ordinance. Therefore, it's not an adverse impact on, though this code will impact land development, it won't have an adverse impact on land because it's basically following existing land use patterns, which are mixed use. We're not proposing to bulldoze Newa Park.
No. The question I have is question number 1 is proposed action may involve construction on or physical alteration of the land surface of the proposed site. Would that answer not then be yes, and then you go down to say would they involve construction?
No, the answer would be no, because the proposed action does not involve the construction of anything. The proposed action.
I see. The proposed action is regulatory. I'm sorry. You're correct. You're absolutely correct.
Right.
Okay.
That's kind of like how wrapping your mind around this is kind of weird because we're not actually proposing to build anything. It's just regulatory framework.
Got it. Council members? Is there anyone who's, is there anyone who's uncomfortable with that interpretation? So we can certainly talk about it. Otherwise, because again, the project does not include any construction. The answer to this is no. Okay, there being no further concern, we then go on to question number 2, which is impact on geological features. Will this change of zone have any impact on geological features? Again, if you look on the proposed resolution, minimal impact on the soils of MU1 district are anticipated. The soils previously disturbed and future development will be similar in nature to existing and historic land uses and development patterns. So the check mark on that would also be no. Anyone have any council member have any comments, concerns, or questions on that? Okay, then we'll go to number 3, impacts on surface water. There are no, if you look again on page 6 now, impact on surface water, there are no Department of Environmental Conservation protected wetlands in the MU1 district. There's the list of the items. So again, the passage of this new zoning statute will not have any impact on wetlands or other surface water. Quick check no there. Number 4 is impact on groundwater. There's current capacity in our system. It's not like we'll be drilling wells. There won't be impact on residential use areas within the water and sewer services. We currently have sufficient capacity to service not only what we currently have, but any future development under the zone. So the answer to that would be no. Again, any comments, concerns, discussion from the council?
David,
And yeah.
how is this playing into, and maybe Greg and Steve can jump in on this one. How does this play into us looking at utilizing your groundwater or water system for green energy? I believe we have a study that we're doing in 22 or 23 for this. Does this have any negative impact on that?
My quick response is, that would not relate to the zoning statute that we're currently passing. Any project that was done that included the groundwater as part of any grant or part of any future project, that would have to be addressed independently with its own environmental impact.
Mm-hmm.
That when that time came and something was proposed, then the full environmental impact would have to be determined prior to the approval of that through a separate seeker. This seeker relates not only to the current zoning law and the proposed zoning law.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The projects that they're talking about is not something that is set forth in this zoning law that is being approved here.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, go down to impact on flooding. As set forth there, we're already in a 100-year floodplain. The proposed action includes requirements for improved stormwater controls. And they're going to do things to reduce stormwater runoff. It's actually going to be more critical than our current statute. Therefore, the proposed action will not increase the likelihood of flooding on or off-site. Hopefully, will make it less impactful, actually. Any comment you have on that, Stephen?
Yeah, I mean, basically, the entire zoning district there is surrounded by or is impacted by flooding. This particular zoning ordinance includes basically it encourages the use of green infrastructure, including like reducing impervious coverage, utilizing vegetative stormwater systems. So if anything, this mirrors kind of what best practices are looking at in like flood water and like storm management. So based on that, I think we could argue that we're actually improving or reducing the amount of stormwater and flood chance of flood versus our current ordinance. So that's kind of why I included this as likely to have little to no adverse impact. And again, we're looking at an area of ground that's already developed. It's not like it's a, you know, it's not like we're building downtown Oneonta in the middle of a green field. It's previously disturbed ground.
So you would suggest that we check no under number 5?
Yeah, I don't see where this is having any sort of adverse impact or an increased likelihood of flooding.
Check no on that. Number 6, impacts on air. As stated in the justification, the proposed project is not anticipated to have a significant negative impact on air quality. It's supposed to be net positive because it's going to be looking to an increased use of public transportation and focus on multimodal transportation as ride sharing services, etc. That would be check no. Going on to number 7, impact on plants and animals. It's already in the downtown area. Any thoughts or reason why not to check no, that there won't impact on plants and animals?
Your habitat, I mean, the DEC mapper will pick up things like bald eagle habitat because of Neowa Park. There's also a stretch of it that runs down like towards where the Depot restaurant is. Obviously, downtown Oneonta is not prime habitat for bald eagles. And if anything, this ordinance actually reduces building height size. We currently don't have a maximum building height size. So arguably, by restricting buildings to 5 to 7 stories, you're actually reducing the likelihood that you'll build a 20-story building in the middle of a bald eagle habitat. So I guess you can sleep better at night knowing that.
And so can your dog.
There's no habitat.
Okay, click no on that. Impacts on agricultural resources. Again, there are few or none in that in the zone, so I feel pretty comfortable checking that one. Impact on aesthetic resources. Until such time as the Arts Commission does more work than it's done to date, we don't have any officially designated scenic vistas or structure view sheds that are currently protected in the city. So that would be checked no. Next thing is impact on historic and archaeological resources. The ones that all the buildings that are currently in the Register of Historic, the New York State Registry, are still in place. This will not have an impact on them. So the answer to that one is no. Again, if we're going too fast or someone has a concern, please jump in. Impact on open space and recreation. As noted in the proposal, the intent of the proposed action is to create better connections between the MU1 district and adjoining open space and recreational areas. And the proposed action specifically references the importance of access to recreational areas. And it'll have no adverse impact on open spaces and recreation, hopefully just make them more easily integrated into the community. Going to number 12, impact on critical environmental areas. As noted, Otsego County does not contain any listed critical environmental areas anywhere in the county. The answer to that is no. 13, impact on transportation. The change in the zoning law is not anticipated to generate substantial amounts of vehicular traffic beyond the levels currently experienced within the downtown. The proposed actions are to make the downtown more accessible to walkability, biking, facilities, public transit, and reduction in automobile trips. So there would be no adverse impact on transportation as a result of the proposed action. Impact on energy.
David,
yeah.
Just a quick question. In reading it, it's are we okay to say that because it says it's action may result in any change, or is it really just referring to a negative or harmful effect?
Yeah, if you look at the subsections, it's no or small impact.
Oh, got it.
If you look, increase activity, they're looking for negative environmental impact.
Got it. Thank you.
You got it. Number 14, impact on energy. The proposed action will limit building height unless the proposed project is LEED certified. And again, we're encouraging green infrastructure so that the proposed project should have a positive impact on energy resources generally. So click no as to negative. Impact on noise, odor, and light. Proposed action, which encompasses the downtown, regulates noise, odor, and light through regulatory guidelines and through site plan review process. Further development or redevelopment of vacant parcels located will be in the zone will be in a matter does not extend the current accepted ambient conditions found throughout Oneonta. Therefore, the project will not have a significant negative impact on noise, odor, or light.
In short, I just basically, we all understand that this is downtown Oneonta. The code as it's written is allowing uses that are typically found in downtowns and regulating them in ways that are typical of that type of environment. So noise, odor, and light, like in a commercial district, would probably be a lot different than they are in a downtown, and they'd probably be a lot different than they are in like a low density residential neighborhood. So the question there is basically, I don't foresee any changes from this zoning ordinance changing the overall character of kind of what we see in downtown as far as amount of noise, odor, or light.
Okay. Number 16, impact on human health. The proposed action allows a mixed uses, encouraging walkability and reduction in automobile use. Although some light commercial land uses are permitted with the MU1 zone, the proposed action regulates health impacts such as light, noise, and ventilation. The proposed action is located within 2,000 feet. The site that underwent environmental remediation, that's the Nawa Park area. Remediation has occurred at the site and is currently owned by the city of Oneonta and serves as a recreational park. The site lies entirely outside of the MU1 zone, and therefore the project will not adversely affect human health. And check no. And then consistency with community plans. It's consistent with the 2019 comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan specifically suggested the adoption of form-based code as a way to get community development goals set forth. It's set forth there. It's consistent with the community plan. So the answer to that is not the proposed action is not consistent. So the answer is no, it is not consistent. Does that make sense? The proposed project is not consistent with that. No, it is not.
Double negative.
Double negative. It's consistent with community plans.
Correct.
I don't like it, but that's what I got to live with. Consistency with community character. It's located entirely within the downtown business district. it will be consistent with generally available. It's not going to be a clash of what has been there for the last 100 years. Maybe those people who want to have it clash with community character, but it's not going to. Click no. Okay. Then, assuming that that based on the review of the information, the council concludes that the proposed action will not result in any significant adverse environmental impact. So now what happens is, based on your determinations there, the Common Council, in order to be consistent with that and to conclude in a legislative manner what you have done through filling out the EAF, the environmental assessment form, you now need to consider and pass the resolution entitled Resolution of the City of Oneonta Common Council to issue a negative declaration for the MU1 zone code update. And again, I hate to look at his honor and continue his hazing. Whether you want to read it, whether you would like me to read it, whether you would like the clerk to read it.
All right, well, Dave, first of all, I want to welcome everybody to Wednesday. I'll start it. We'll see how far I get, because you've been working, David, and I appreciate that. I've got an acting already voted on, so I'm likely to hand it off there for a bit, and then we'll see where we go. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Why is it that we have to read the entire thing?
It just needs to be put in the record. If it's available to the public, you can say as set forth. Again, it's why we read all motions, is in order to make it clear and make it part of the public record that we follow the process. If you wish to,
and by having this document on our webpage isn't consistent with that type of thought process. So that if a general public wants to refer back to this rather than sit there and listen to us read it verbatim, they could read it themselves and print it off. And
if they have electronics available to them, and if they have a computer, and if they can download it, and if they have a printer, there is the reason we read all motions is because they should be part of the education of anyone who is attending, to be aware of what it is that's being fully considered and passed by the council. If you wish to do otherwise, that's up to the council.
Well, I'll tell you what, this is where we love you, Lynn. I appreciate the thought. I think we'll push through this, and I'll accept this as all part of that, I'm sure, uncoordinated hazing that's going on.
Yeah.
remember, Mark, it's lemonade to soothe your throat.
All right. Well, here we go. All right.
And I apologize for that.
I mean, just to set the record straight here, I've watched Danny Lappin read a 30-minute negative declaration into the minutes for the planning commission. So,
well, Danny's not here.
I want someone to start a stopwatch because I'm trying to steal his title.
Fine. All right, here we go. Motion that the Common Council approves the following resolution of the City of Oneonta Common Council to issue a negative seeker declaration for the MU1 zoning code update, whereas the City of Oneonta, Otsego County, New York, has received a proposed legislative update to Chapter 300 of the City of Oneonta Municipal Code and a full environmental assessment form, EAF, for a project identified as the City of Oneonta MU1 zoning update. Such proposal dated October 19th, 2021, prepared by city staff in conjunction with the City of Oneonta Planning Commission. And whereas on October 19th, 2021, the City of Oneonta Common Council adopted a resolution of intent to act as lead agency for the purpose of conducting the environmental review required by 6 NYCRR Part 617 and circulated the resolution of intent together with Part 1 of the long environmental assessment form and other application materials, including a project description and a site location map to the identified involved and interested agencies to solicit agreement with the city's declaration of intent to act as lead agency for the secret review. And whereas, having received no objections from other agencies on January 4th, 2022, the City of Oneonta Common Council adopted a resolution designating itself as lead agency for the environmental review of the proposed MU1 zoning update. And whereas the City of Oneonta Common Council reviewed the application materials, including the full EAF, and classified the project as a type 1A action. And whereas the city has prepared parts 2 and 3 of the long environmental assessment form and has reviewed these documents, and whereas after reviewing of the EAF and all supporting documents, City of Oneonta Common Council has determined there'll be no significant adverse environmental impact as defined in Part 617.7C, and therefore the Common Council as lead agency adopted a negative declaration for the MU1 zoning update on January 4th, 2022. Now, therefore, be it resolved that this negative declaration of notice of determination of non-significance is issued pursuant to 6 NYCRR Part 617 of the implementing regulations pertaining to Article 8 State Environmental Quality Review Act, or SECRA, of the New York State Environmental Conservation Law, ECL. The action for which this negative declaration has been prepared includes the proposed legislative update to Chapter 300-10 of the City of Oneonta zoning ordinance entitled MU1 Downtown Mixed Use District, MU1 District. The proposed action includes changes to the MU1 zoning district boundary, a change within the MU1 zoning district from a Euclidean zoning code to a form-based zoning code, updates to administrative functions to provide clarity and expedite review processes within the zoning boundary, and an update to definitions and terminology found throughout the code. The City of Oneonta Common Council, as lead agency under SECRA, has determined that the proposed action described below will not have a significant adverse effect on the environment, and that preparation of a draft environmental impact statement, DEIS, is not required. SECRA lead agency, City of Oneonta Common Council, name of action, MU1 zoning update, SECRA status, the proposed action involves the adoption of zoning legislation within the MU1 Downtown Mixed Use District. All amendments to the MU1 District zoning ordinance are consistent with the 2019 of Oneonta Comprehensive Plan update and represent best practices in zoning and land use regulation. The proposal is a type 1 action under SECRA 617.4B2 as it involves adoption of changes in the allowable use within the MU1 district, which exceeds 25 acres. The City of Oneonta Common Council, hereinafter referred to as the Council, has reviewed and considered the full environmental assessment form, FEAF, dated September 21, 2021, including but not limited to the following documents supplementing the FEAF. The final legislative draft of the MU1 form-based code zoning code. Number 2, the notice of the Otsego County Planning Department's recommendation under New York State General Municipal Law 239M dated October 8th, 2021. 3, a letter of support for the adoption of the MU1 form-based code from the City of Oneonta Planning Commission, submitted by the chairperson, Denny Lappin, November 17, 2021. Number 4, oral comments provided by Code Enforcement Officer Stephen Yearley, delivered to the City of Oneonta Common Council during the January 4th, 2021 Common Council meeting, outlined the environmental and land use impacts of the proposed MU1 code update. Project description: the City of Oneonta, 258 Main Street, Oneonta, New York, 13820, is proposing an update to the Chapter 300 zoning of the City of Oneonta Municipal Code, specifically entitled MU1 Downtown Mixed Use District. The proposed action will impact approximately 72 acres of land located in Oneonta's historic downtown and will regulate both land use and land development along 2 of the city's major business corridors, Main Street and Market Street. There's an attached map. The proposed MU1 district update is intended to implement the goals of the 2019 City of Oneonta Comprehensive Plan update, hereinafter referred to as the Comprehensive Plan, specifically AG6, which recommends the development of a form-based code. The Comprehensive Plan recommends the creation of a high-quality, pedestrian-friendly built environment with a mix of uses, including both residential and commercial uses, to better serve the community at large. Further, the comprehensive plan recommends the protection and expansion of the National Register of Historic Places District that encompasses much of the MU1 district. Finally, the comprehensive plan recommends that the future development is conscious of larger environmental goals related to sustainability and multimodal transportation systems. The city of Oneonta is proposing a shift from Euclidean zoning code with its downtown to a transect form-based zoning code. Euclidean zoning codes regulate development based on land uses with the intent of separating uses that may not appear to be compatible. For example, commercial uses from residential uses. In contrast to land use approach to regulating land, a form-based code seeks to create a predictable development pattern through the implementation of specific public realm with a broad secondary goal of regulating land uses. Transect zoning codes focus on urban density with boundaries moving from very dense environments referred to as T6 transect to lower density environments and parklands being referred to as a T1 transect. Organizing land around density and requiring a high quality built environment creates a pedestrian focused environment that enables residents to live, work, and seek recreation within easily accessible neighborhood transects. Transect form-based codes encourage development that uses land efficiently, encourages an emphasis on the pedestrian experience, and discourages development that is automobile dependent. Reasons supporting the city of Oneonta's Common Council secret determination. Number one is the impact on land. The proposed action is located in the city of Oneonta MU1 district, which has historically been the city's downtown. Due to the historic nature of the city of Oneonta's downtown, the land area which is impacted by the proposed zoning change has been previously disturbed. The proposed zoning update requires further future development to be mixed use as well as multi-storied, which is higher and better use of land than permitted in the current zoning ordinance. Therefore, the proposed project will not have a significant adverse impact on land. I'm going to keep going, Dave, but I'm going to call on you when I need you. Impact on soils geology is number two. Minimal impact to the soils of the MU1 district are anticipated. The soil is previously disturbed and future development would be similar in nature to existing and historic land uses and development patterns. The Common Council finds that there will be no significant impact to soils or geological resources as a result of the proposed action. Number three, impact on surface water. There are no Department of Environmental Conservation, DEC, protected wetlands located within the MU1 district. The MU1 district contains parcels which drain into Silver Creek, which flows into the Susquehanna River, which is a 303D impaired water body. Further, the Susquehanna River and the Mill Race Creek, located on the southern boundary of the MU1 district, are classified by the DEC as 930-7B water bodies, indicating that their best usage as fishing, swimming, or recreational purposes. The proposed action includes measures to reduce stormwater runoff, protect environmentally sensitive areas, and require green infrastructure improvements to reduce impervious coverage impacts or adjacent water bodies. The Common Council finds that there will be no significant adverse impact to surface water as result of the proposed action. Number four, impact on groundwater. Although the proposed action enables future development within the zoning district of the city of Oneonta has a capacity within its water system to accommodate additional growth, the proposed action provides additional regulation in relation to stormwater management and requires green infrastructure to reduce potentially polluted runoff. There is no reason to believe that the proposal will significantly affect groundwater supply or quality. The Common Council finds that there will be no significant adverse impact to groundwater as a result of the proposed action. Impact on flooding is number five. The proposed action is located within the areas identified by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, as designated 100-year floodplains. The proposed action contains areas listed as special flood hazard areas and is adjacent to areas containing a regulatory floodway according to the FEMA National Flood Map. The proposed action includes requirements for improving stormwater controls, incorporating green infrastructure to better manage stormwater, reduce surface parking requirements, and to discourage the creation of unnecessary impervious surfaces, and finally requiring the addition of street trees and site vegetation as part of the holistic approach to stormwater reduction. The regulatory requirements related to the proposed action will likely result in a reduced amount of overall stormwater runoff. It is expected that the compliance with the regulations found within the proposed action will result in the reduction in flood likelihood and intensity. Therefore, the proposed action will not increase the likelihood of flooding on or off site. 6, impacts on air. The proposed project is not anticipated to have any significant impact on air quality. It is worth noting that the project is in fact likely to have a net positive impact on air quality, as the intent of the proposed action is a reduction in private automobile usage, an increase in the use of public transportation, and finally, a focus on multimodal transportation such as ride share services, cycling, and walking. The proposed action, if followed, will ideally offset an equal demand for fossil fuel-based travel and therefore improve overall air quality. Impacts on plants and animals. Number 7, the proposed action is not anticipated to have a significant impact on plants or animals. The project site is located in a previously disturbed area in downtown Oneonta. According to the DEC Environmental Mapping Service, there are no species of animals or associated habitats in the MU1 district. The proposed action requires vegetation planting details for infill construction and substantial renovation that is appropriate and native to the climate zone and region. Therefore, the proposed project will not have significant adverse impact on plants and animals. Number 8, impacts on agricultural resources. The MU1 district is not located within a certified natural agricultural district and is not located adjacent to any existing agricultural uses. Therefore, the proposed action will not have significant adverse impact on agricultural resource. 9, impact on aesthetic resource. The city of Oneonta does not have an officially designated scenic vista or a sensitive view sheds that could be adversely affected by the proposed project. However, many of the structures within the MU1 district have been designated as historically significant. The proposed action encourages the protection of these resources as well as high quality infill development. The Common Council finds that the proposed action will not have an adverse impact on aesthetic resources. Number 10, impact on historic and archaeological resources. The proposed project will not adversely affect properties, including archaeological and/or historic resources listed on or eligible for the New York State or National Register of Historic Places. The proposed action implements regulation related to the preservation, repair, and reuse of historic resources located throughout the MU1 district. The proposed action specifically mirrors best practices as provided by both the National Park Service and the State Historic Preservation Office. Therefore, no adverse impacts to historic archaeological resources are anticipated due to the proposed action. Impact on open space and recreation is number 11. The intent of the proposed action is to create better connections between the MU1 district and adjoining open space and recreation areas such as Niwa Park and the Susquehanna River. The proposed action specifically references the importance of access to recreation areas and encourages their use through connection to bike facilities, public transportation, and pedestrian access. The proposed action will have no adverse impact on open space or recreation. Number 12, impact on critical environmental areas. Otsego County does not contain any listed critical environmental areas. Therefore, the proposed action will not adversely affect critical environmental areas. And I'm kind of in the zone, Dave, so I'll go to you for some other things some other day. I'm going to wrap this up. Number 13, impact on transportation. The proposed action is not anticipated to generate substantial amounts of vehicular traffic beyond ambient levels experienced within downtown Oneonta. The proposed action includes specific regulation related to urban transportation planning, such as walkability, biking accessibility and facilities, public transport, and reduction in automobile trips and congestion. Further, the proposed action requires substantial development projects to provide transit plans related to parking and traffic generation. Therefore, there are no anticipated adverse impacts related to transportation as a result of the proposed action. Number 14, impact on energy. The proposed action limits building heights unless a proposed project is leadership in energy and environmental design, LEED certified. The proposed action encourages walkability, cycling, and public transit as a way to offset fossil fuel dependency associated with automobile usage. Finally, the proposed action allows green infrastructure such as solar to offset demand for traditionally produced electricity. Therefore, the proposed project is likely to have a positive impact on energy resources. Number 15, impact on noise, odor, and light. The proposed action regulates the MU1 district, which encompasses Oneonta's downtown. The action regulates noise, odor, and light, both regulatory guidelines and through the site plan review process. Further development or redevelopment of vacant parcels located throughout the zone will be in manner that does not exceed the current accepted ambient conditions found throughout Oneonta's downtown. Therefore, the project will not have significant impacts related to noise, odor, or light. Number 16, impact on human health. The proposed action allows a mix of uses which encourage walkability and a reduction in automobile use. An increase in air quality, physical activity, and a reduction in automobile dependency is conducive to improved health. Although some light commercial land uses are permitted within the MU1 district, the proposed action regulates health impacts such as light, noise, and ventilation. The proposed action is located within 2,000 feet of a site that underwent environmental remediation, specifically site code 439001. Remediation has occurred at the site and is currently owned by the city of Oneonta and serves as recreational parkland. This site lies entirely outside of the MU1 district. Therefore, the proposed project will not adversely affect human health. 17, consistency with community plans. The proposed project is consistent with the recommendations outlined in the 2019 City of Oneonta Comprehensive Plan. The comprehensive plan specifically identifies the development and adoption of a form-based code as a way to realize its community development goals. In addition, the focus on the environmental awareness within the proposed action calls for the implementation of actions that reduce fossil fuel dependence within the city, advance the city toward achieving certification from the DEC Climate Smart Communities Program and or the New York State Energy Research Development Authority, NYSERDA, Clean Energy Communities Program, and are consistent with a recommendation from the Otsego County Energy Task Force. Finally, the proposed action calls for a vibrant and dense urban core, which provides a mix of uses, including employment options and a mix of market and affordable housing, which is consistent with the findings and goals outlined in the 2014 Otsego County Community Needs Assessment, the 2016 Focus on the Future of Main Street, and the 2018 Housing Needs Assessment of Otsego County. The Common Council finds that the proposed action is consistent with community planning documents. Number 18, consistency with community character. The proposed action regulates the development of land located within the MU1 district, which is located entirely within the area typically referred to as downtown Oneonta. This district has historically housed much of Oneonta's business and commercial activities and is representative of several important historical periods ranging throughout the 19th and 20th centuries. The proposed action implements regulation to protect the historic resources throughout the MU1 district, as well as requiring new development or renovation to mirror the historic fabric of Oneonta's downtown. Further, the transect system acknowledges the unique characteristics that exist within Oneonta's downtown land uses and architectural styles and provides specific use and design standards for these different areas. Providing specific standards that are applicable and representative of these unique site conditions will further protect and enhance the city of Oneonta's downtown community character. The Common Council finds that the proposed action will not adversely impact the community character of the MU1 district. Determination. Based on the review of the above information and supporting documentation, the City of Oneonta Common Council concludes that the proposed action will not result in any significant adverse environmental impact, and a draft environmental impact statement will not be prepared. Ta-da. So anyway, now at this point, do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion, we approve.
All right, Scott, and then Mark to follow. All right, discussion.
I'm afraid to say no.
Probably smart. All right, then with that.
Mark
yes.
had a request.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Mark. Go ahead.
No, I was preparing to vote. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Luke, did you have a question? Or were you voting?
I was prematurely voting.
Okay.
All right. So with that, no discussion being indicated here. Carrie, would you call the roll? We still have you, Carrie? I think you're muted.
She may have dozed off.
No, I hear her. You're not muted, but I'm not hearing you. We have pretty lousy Wi-Fi back here. You want to just shout it out from where you are?
Councilmember Murphy.
Aye.
Councilmember Davies.
Yes.
Member Risberger.
Yes.
Councilmember Carson.
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington.
Yes.
Councilmember Rafter.
Yes.
Passes.
It passes. All right.
Thank you, everyone.
We got one more. All right, so motion number 19, that the Common Council approves the local law to amend and revise certain provisions of the Chapter 300 of the Municipal Code of the City of Oneonta as it pertains to, quote, definitions, unquote, and the, quote, zoning districts established MU1 downtown mixed use district, unquote. This item was laid electronically on November 2, 2021. Do we have a motion to approve? Dave Risberger and Mark Davies, thank you very much. Do we have discussion? Mercifully. So with that, Carrie, you want to try that again?
Try again, Councilmember.
Oh, you're
Murphy.
on. You got you.
I think that was me. Aye.
Yes.
Now
Councilmember Davies.
Yes.
Councilmember Risberger.
Yes.
Councilmember Carson.
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington.
Yes.
Councilmember Rafter.
Yes.
Passes.
This has been a heck of a council meeting to have as your first. I'll remember this one for sure. All right, so now moving on to additional business and or council discussion. Does anyone have any additional business for the council's discussion? Yes, Scott.
I just want to make this quick, but going through the parks with the light festival down there, I noticed that beautiful, everybody that was involved. It was absolutely stunning. But I see that some of our city employees took some time to dress up some of our city equipment and be part of it as well. And I just want to give a shout out. I don't know what department was responsible for that, or if it's all the city, but wonderful to see that they engaged in that as well. And also a shout out to the fire department who hung up some lights this year. I've heard some good feedback on that as well. So I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for that.
Thanks, Scott. Does anybody else have anything that they'd like to bring forward to the council for discussion? Dave Risberger.
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to the Oneonta Police Department. Before the holidays happened, they actually helped out the Oneonta indoor track team who were doing a scavenger hunt, and they took part in part of that scavenger hunt for the team. So I just wanted to thank them for that.
That's nice. All right. Any other hands to go up? I see none. So with that, I'm going to ask Carrie, if you can hear me, do we have any correspondence?
I have two pieces of correspondence tonight.
All right.
The first one is from Andrew Hamill. He writes to the City of Oneonta Common Council in Mayor Drenick. It will be a pleasure and honor to work with the Common Council, including the new mayor as a city commissioner, as it will be a pleasure as someone who is honored, privileged, and happy to call the City of Oneonta my new community and the Common Council as my local leaders of government. I can honestly say that I am happy to be living here in Oneonta. Ever since I started at Suco and have traveled through the city of Oneonta for many years, and then returning to my hometown of the town of Maryland, I have been thoroughly impressed with how the city is run and how the Common Council is bipartisan. I thank you all and for the entire city of Oneonta for welcoming my mother and I as the new family to have moved to the city of Oneonta. Just thought I'd let you know, my mother and I moved to the city of Oneonta this past year in January 2021. Thank you again, Commissioner Andrew Hamill, Board of Public Service. Your second piece of correspondence has a visual aid. This one comes from Wendy Decker, North 5th Street. Please check at the next Common Council meeting with regards to the lighting at the dentist and chiropractor. We have not heard a word. It would be appreciated if any interaction would be in writing. As we have discussed with all involved, the lights are illegal. We have been patient, new mayor, etc. I'm going to send you a picture of the lights at my first interaction with codes and a picture taken this New Year's Day. Thank you for your help, Wendy Decker. And can you see the photograph? That's
Yeah.
okay, perfect.
Yep.
And that's it.
So, Greg, I'm going to follow up with you on this tomorrow. I think I know that she's brought this up. I think the Board of Public Service. We'll see what we need to do here.
Okay.
Sound good?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks. All righty. So that's the end of the correspondence. Executive session. I do need to keep you guys for a few minutes for executive session. I need to have Katie among the group. I need to have Dave Mertzig among the group, and I think Kerry, I'm going to ask you to join as well, if I could, please.
Get this set up. I can't join as the administrator of the meeting. It won't allow me to.
Interesting. All right. Well, why don't we not have you join, and we'll try to work out that bug for the next time that we ever have that issue. Okay.
Perfect.
Main thing is I've got Dave and Katie.
Here you go. Magic buttons again.
All right.
I think you're muted, Mayor.
Mayor, you're muted. Muted. There you go.
Okay. So that was fun. I will speak with folks individually. We'll work out because I believe it is the council to determine, and we'll figure it out from here. All right. So I thank you all for your attendance, and I'll talk to you soon.
Do we need a motion to adjourn?
Do we? Yes, we do. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Hey, you know what I've got here?
You don't
Hey,
need a
look what I've
motion
got.
to
Look what
adjourn.
I've got.
Oh,
I got
all
no-
right. We don't.
I got no squirrels. We're adjourned.